since I got here, you guys have been awesome. It's been some ups and downs between all of us, but for the most part, you guys have been awesome. Just good group to deal with. You guys are very engaging, and it's just fun to be around you guys. You're from Eric making the jokes to everything in between. Just it's been a fun ride, guys, and I really appreciate you for that. And yeah, I'll miss you guys.
Yeah, it's not over. Almost like that Wolf of Wall Street scene. I'm not going anywhere. We're talking Jimmy G here, the quarterback for San Francisco. He's staying put. On Monday, Garoppolo agreed to a restructured one-year deal that will keep him out there in Cali. The contract includes no trade and no tag clauses in there. Jimmy G will become a free agent, though, next offseason, so maybe playing the long game here. His new deal is worth $6.5 million fully guaranteed base salary. The new look deal, of course, contains a total of $500,000 in roster bonuses, but of course all those incentives could lead up to nearly $9 million for a total up to $16 million if all those bonuses are reached. He will serve, though, as that backup to Trey Lance, who's been elevated to QB1 this season for the Niners. This is interesting. 1/3 of the Super Friends checking in here. John Breech here with us on HQ. And Breech, you think about the Niners deciding to hold on to Jimmy G. We had all the speculation that he could go to Carolina. He could be the replacement there in Cleveland, maybe Seattle, but he's staying put there as QB2. Surprised that was on the table here for the Niners.
Yeah, I am actually really surprised by this. It's a little awkward if you ask me. This is like if you go through a breakup and then you start dating again, but your ex still lives with you. It's just everything about it screams awkwardness. And I think my biggest issue here is that what if Trey Lance struggles the first few weeks of the season? I mean, the 49ers have two very winnable games in week 1 and week 2 against the Bears and the Seahawks. If Trey Lance doesn't play well against those two teams, and then they've got tougher games after that against the Broncos and the Rams where he could struggle, fans are going to be screaming for Jimmy Garoppolo. Hey, look, we still have this guy who led us to the NFC title game last year, who led us to the Super Bowl a few years ago. Why isn't he our quarterback? So I guess from the 49ers point of view, your thought process is, hey, look, we still have him as a backup. In case of glass, break it. We've got the emergency guy here. Put him in. If you're Jimmy Garoppolo, you don't have to worry about going out and learning a new offense in 10 days to maybe start with another team, which is possibly what would happen if he got cut. So for those two, it's probably okay, but this just screams by the 49ers that maybe they don't have full faith in Trey Lance just yet, and they're thinking, hey, you know what, we'll keep Jimmy around and make sure this Trey Lance thing works out. And then one of two things could happen in the next 6 weeks. A quarterback gets injured for another team and you trade Jimmy Garoppolo, or Trey Lance looks like a superstar, and then, boom, you also trade Jimmy Garoppolo again. But I think this is a tough situation for Trey Lance.
I was going to ask you that, yes or no, if this was a good idea, because remember, Trey Lance, he didn't have to outduel Jimmy G. It was basically handed the keys. You're QB1 this upcoming season. But now knowing that you're going to have Jimmy G over your shoulder, I'm assuming that, no, this is not a good idea. This is how you feel about that.
Yeah, when you're handing him the keys, but you don't know if he can drive, when you know you got Jimmy there who drives 65 on the interstate when it's 65 miles an hour. He's not going to blow you away, but he's not going to crush your hopes and dreams. You have no idea what Trey Lance is going to do. All you have is the training camp, and you've seen how he can play, and you saw him in a start last year. But you don't know if he's the kind of guy that is going to do what Patrick Mahomes did in Kansas City and absolutely turn the team around and immediately get them back to the NFC title game. And I think that's one problem for the 49ers in this Garoppolo situation, is that if they only get the divisional round of the playoffs with Trey Lance, that's a failure because you took a step back from what Jimmy Garoppolo did last year. And so if you're only in the wild card round or the divisional round and Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the roster, then people start pointing at the coaching staff and said, why didn't you start Jimmy? He got you further last year. So it's just a very tough situation for Trey Lance.
I think the old saying that we've heard all the way from off season to now, you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one at all. The Steelers, well, they technically have three. Trubisky and Pickett, of course, maybe options at QB1, but they still have the other guy, Mason Rudolph. But they haven't been budging, fielding some offers here when it comes to their third quarterback. Could we see them carry three QBs come week 1, or will Rudolph maybe be on the move here?
Yeah, I think that when Bill Parcells says you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one, he didn't think about three. The Steelers are a really unique situation here because most teams don't keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster anymore. Let's not forget that 5, 10, 15 years ago it was pretty normal to have 3 QBs on your roster. I do not think it's that crazy if the Steelers keep Mason Rudolph. I know they have said that they would only unload him if they get a generous trade offer. And the reason it makes sense is because Mason Rudolph is the only quarterback right now on that roster who has any serious experience in that offense. Look, they just signed Mitchell Trubisky this past offseason. Obviously, Kenny Pickett is a rookie, so I don't think it hurts to have kind of that steadying hand presence who knows the offense in the QB room, helping the other guys out, helping them learn as they go, and watching film with them. So in that sense, I don't think it's completely crazy for the Steelers to keep Mason Rudolph. But again, if the right trade comes along, it won't be surprising if Pittsburgh ends up moving him.
Mike Tomlin not giving us a clear-cut number 1, by the way, when it comes to his starting quarterback come week 1, when it means the Steelers there. Of course, it is cut-down day across the NFL at 4 p.m. Eastern time. You got guys kind of flying off the radar here. O.J. Howard recently. You also have Josh Howard leaving Kansas City there. Others as well. Shoney Michel, if you're thinking about it there. Is there a chance that you can find some value in some of these guys getting a release here, maybe on your team, if you're thinking about adding them to that 53?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what NFL teams do. This is what the personnel people do. This is what the front offices do. This is that one day where they are locked in. They are watching all the cuts going around the league and looking at guys that they could potentially add to their roster. I mean, Shoney Michel is a good example because guess what? He's not going to be as expensive as he was in March, or a couple of these guys, O.J. Howard possibly being cut from the Bills. These guys signed multi-million-dollar contracts. Now they're just looking for somewhere to play. So they might be quick to sign the 1-year deal for the veteran minimum. And you do see this happen all the time where players get released right before the deadline, and then boom, a few days later, they are signing with another team. And I think that's one thing to remember, is that despite the fact that we're getting down to the final 53 and all NFL teams have to be down to their 53-man roster by 4 p.m. Eastern today, is that most of these won't be their final 53-man roster because they are going to look at these long lists of cuts and look for guys that they can add. And you know what? We'll see surprising cuts. We've already seen Brett Kern, the punter of the Titans, got cut. Sam Martin, the punter of the Broncos. We know the Bills are looking for a punter. So we're just going to see players get signed. This is just something that's nonstop between now and probably early next week.
Another news cycle here in the NFL the closer we get to kickoff later next week. As always, John Breech, appreciate you tapping in. That might be options, too, for fantasy football, of course, is upon us. Help us raise money. The St. Jude's during the fantasy football draft-a-thon today. Join Jamie, David Heath on Wednesday, actually, at 6 p.m. as we help to prepare for the fantasy draft. Jim Nance, Pete Prisco, Will Brinson, and Niners All-Pro receiver Deebo Samuel's also checking on the festivities. Please use that QR code to donate now.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.